we are here in Anhalter Park, and this practically represents the norm for Berlin right now. The entire Berlin is interdispersed with wilderness, sort of rotting, decaying matter that practically is taking over the entire city. I'm showing you this place because it was one of the first ones that was left to grow in this way. Perhaps if you read the place, if you look at it, you see vestiges of the railroad track. In fact, it used to be a train station, and you see bits and pieces of human construction and human history here. It was conceived to remain a wild area where wilderness or trees that sprouted spontaneously could grow. And in fact, you see all kinds of trees, black locust and poplars and beeches, all kinds of things, very, very dense. It's a place that needs very little maintenance, and there is very little infrastructure, just a very few trails, elevated pathways, otherwise nothing else. And it's not conceived for the mere comfort of the people or the mere pleasure of people. It's really conceived to contain all kinds of species, all kinds of creatures that can sort of coexist in this place. So the starting point was in the 2020s, and then it was taken to its most radical consequences. And right now the city, this is one of the first examples, but then we see also very important places that used to be a place of representation for the city that are sprouted with all kind of wilderness. And this was within the history of the guidelines of the biotope map for West Berlin. That was really the mission, to transform the city in a large, rich, biodiverse biotope. And all kind of places used to be places of representation. As an example, the island of the museums, or Unter den Linden, or even the Schloss is sort of engulfed in an incredible forest. Somehow this is how we live the city, in a really this very radical way of coexisting with other creatures. So we're here standing in Potsdamer Platz, and we're looking at a park that used to be the understanding of a public space in the 90s. This was designed after the reunification of the city, and now it's protected. There aren't any place like this in the entire Berlin. Somehow like a remembrance of a lost understanding, of a gone understanding of the city. This was conceived as a grass sculpture by the landscape architects, very different from the park we saw before, which is practically the rule for the entire city. In this case, this is really the exception. Of course, as you can see, it's highly stylized, very formal. And at the same time, ironically, this area is standing on the former Potsdamer Bahnhof, which was then, after the war, it was an area that that was in the wrong jurisdiction. It belonged to the east while standing in the west. So therefore it was fenced in, and this station, practically the Potsdamer station, was left rotting and decaying for 2 decades. And until botanists started to be very interested in this area, reading the city as a new wilderness, as a new sort of exotic space where all kind of plants were growing, and all the the debris and the destroyed areas of the city. And this is the first area they mapped, really the beginning of the drafting of the biotope map in Berlin. And there was Wolfram Kunig, who is one of the beginners of the biotope map, practically for West Berlin. And he was mapping this, and there are amazing documents of this area where you see the steps, the staircases of the station that are growing with societies of mosses, of incredible plants that are sort of eating away the constructed parts.
We are the reason that there is still architecture. We know that biodiversity in cities is higher than in the man-made countryside. So you find more life in the facade of a building than in the soil of a cornfield, which means the city was not and must not be exclusive to humans, because it is the place where multi-species coexistence can happen, And that gives architecture a purpose beyond the 1%.
Today, pesticides are no longer used. It's either biodynamic cycles or music. They play mostly Mozart for the wines. So no more chemicals were needed. Insects avoid Mozart. Maybe too harmonious. And the wine tastes much better. It also works with tomatoes and other vegetables. This is near Siena. That's where it started.
And now we have the technology and the wisdom to really be able to, project our own physical seeming presence into these digital spaces, these digital built spaces, and of course those built spaces as well. And getting to this point took a complete reimagining of how architecture and digital technology really play together.